Hello, everybody, and of course, welcome back to another episode of X Talking Ish with your boy X in.
Boy Ish.
Already, we appreciate everybody as always for tuning in on a Tuesday night for another episode of X Talking Ish. And as always, if you are checking out things on YouTube, you're more than welcome to subscribe and hit that notification bell for future videos.
Ding.
Thank you for that, Ish. Thank you.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and also, if you are on Facebook, please make sure you like and watch us through Facebook as well. And if you are on Twitter, please make sure you check us out on Periscope on my Twitter page on X underscore Williams 81. All righty then, Ish. We haven't been on the airwaves in a while,
Yeah,
podcast or YouTube in about a month. It's we've been handling our summer business. We had to tend to our business, and now we're back to football. Football's coming back in a full swing on all three levels: high school, college, and pro. And we are here to, of course, talk a little bit about it. Ish, how you been, boss?
been doing well as you can see by the background. Made some moves in a new location. But yeah, doing well, man. It was a nice little summer break, but football is back, and I am excited about all the football that we got going on. All three levels: high school, college, NFL. Everything is gonna be man. It's gonna be a great year. Hopefully, if COVID doesn't continue to mess us up.
Now, of course, if you have been tuning in to X Talking Ish, this is now season two. So last season, of course, was our debut season. This season, we're going to, of course, get more into high school and college football throughout the season. Last year, we talked about mainly more NFL, but this season, we would definitely be talking more about high school and college. Of course, unfortunately, due to COVID, it messed up a lot of our plans when it comes to going to certain games, especially here in the Houston area. But hopefully, depending on how things happen moving forward, you can maybe see us at some of you guys' games popping up. You'll be surprised to maybe see us in the in y'all's background, especially in high school. So, speaking of high school, we will talk about number one recruit in the class of 2021, Southlake Carroll quarterback Quinn Edwards. He's leaving high school early for Ohio State. Now, it might sound like, oh man, that's a big deal because when did high school guys start leaving early to go to college? Is this something that's going to be a trend? Is this something that's going to happen more often moving forward? Honestly, I don't think so. And I'm going to pass this over to Ish so he can, of course, elaborate a little bit more on what's going on with this deal. Because of an NIL situation, he's wanting to leave high school a little early so he can cash in on his deals with an NIL, with being able to capitalize on these NIL new rules.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, he just wants to capitalize on his name, image, and likeness. He wants to make money off himself. And right now, the UIL in the state of Texas is not allowing high school players to do that. They are supposed to be meeting later in, like, I think either later this month or next month. I do know that they will be meeting to discuss what to do with the new NIL that was announced by the NCAA and what that looks like moving forward. Um, like you said, I don't know that this is going to become a trend. Um, I know that the past couple of years we've seen more and more seniors leave after their fall season. So like right after the fall season, they leave and they enroll early in the spring so that they can
Mm-hmm.
get some spring camp in. And I think that trend will continue. But as far as players leaving, foregoing their senior season of high school to go play college, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, this is the second player that has announced they're foregoing their senior season. If you remember earlier in the summer, Jaden Blue, the running back from Klein Kane that's committed to the University of Texas,
Mm-hmm.
he announced that he wasn't going to play his senior season so that he could get ready for college ball, which I think that's a totally different situation. It wasn't about making money per se. It was more so, I think, about the wear and tear
protecting your
as a
body,
running back.
especially as
Yeah.
a running back. Yes,
I mean, he's a running back. He gets a lot of touches in that offense. He carries that offense. So for him, it was more so a business decision, as I want to protect myself going into the senior season. But for name, image, and likeness, I think that, and I don't know what you think, but I don't know. The UIL might actually have to they might have to allow some high school players to benefit off their name, image, and likeness. Now, whether or not they put stipulations on that by like you can only make a certain amount of money or X, Y, and Z, something's gonna have to happen, or else you could potentially see some of these top prospects actually try to do this. Now, not everybody can reclassify, because technically
that's another thing that he did as well. Exactly.
Yeah, we got to go into the fact that he reclassified for the class of 2021.
And for the people that are tuning in on X Talking Ish, can you please explain to everybody that does not know what reclassifying means? Can you explain to everybody what reclassifying is?
Yeah, basically he took he was supposed to graduate in 2022, and he has just readjusted himself to graduate early. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that, because not everybody's going to have the credits. Not everybody's, depending on one, it's going to depend on your state, what the credits are required for you to graduate from your state, whether or not you've been taking advanced classes or you've been taking extra classes in summer school, stuff like that. So there are a lot of factors that go into whether or not a prospect can reclassify to a year earlier. So it's not something that is easily done. It's just to say that it's not something that's easily done. Also, another thing to note about reclassifying and the kids that do enroll early at schools, one of the things that you have to consider is the number of scholarships available. A couple years ago, I don't know if you remember this, X, there was a top running back from right here in Cyprus, Tonio Carter, who was committed to the University of Georgia, wanted to leave. He wanted to basically enroll in the spring season. And because Nick Chubb and what's his name? His it plays for the Lions.
And Swift.
Yeah, Swift. Because they came back, the number of scholarships Georgia had, there weren't enough for him to go to Georgia. So he had to look for another opportunity, and that's what made him end up at the University of Texas. So that is another thing to consider as a kid who wants to maybe reclassify or enroll early. You have to know whether or not they have the scholarships available for you to get on campus and be there early. So that's just, like I said, there's a lot that goes into that.
No, and you're perfectly 100% correct on everything that you said, and I appreciate everything that you said on this subject at hand, because everybody is not like Quinn. This is a once a year type of thing. I think there's going to be one or two players per year that this is going to be able to do this type of move when they say, "Hey, I don't want to be here my senior year. I want to do it in college," because he's a guy that has been recruited since he was in 8th grade. He's not somebody that just popped up out of nowhere and just said, "Hey, I want to leave high school early." No, he actually went ahead and planned out his academics, like you said, Ish, to where he took his classes in the spring, fall, and also I'm assuming in summer as well. So at this moment, as a senior, he only has, I read the article in the Dallas Morning News, he only has one English class to take his senior year. Ish, you remember we were in high school together in Texas, and usually you really don't have classes until your second semester that senior year. That's when you have your onesies, your twosies, and then people are out of school that second part of the school year. I mean, of the class time. So after lunchtime, everybody pretty much goes home or does whatever, right? He only has one class for the whole year. I mean, all he's really doing is just taking up space in high school, especially at South Lake Carroll. I mean, we know how big that school is. That he's not going to be missed at South Lake Carroll, because with that type of school program, that type of program, they're just like the school down the street from us with Katy, where they don't restart, they reload. And they're going to miss him, of course, but they're going to reload, and they're going to be right back in the thick of things with the Dragons of South Lake Carroll. And I think it's a unique opportunity, because the the endorsement that he's actually getting is called Holy Kombucha. And I think it was very interesting because I read the article in Dallas Morning News, and the reason why he's actually wanting to be a partnership with them is because they actually promote suicide awareness and mental health. And of course, that's something that's been going on a lot with the Olympics, with tennis, with Naomi Osaka, with, of course, in other sports besides football. And again, if we're moving forward and we're going to take mental health seriously, it's to me, I think it's very ironic how we're going to go straight at a young kid that's an 18-year-old kid that's trying to do the best things for himself and his family, and he's just taking advantage of what's at hand. These rules are, this is not, he don't have any control in these new rules, right? Him and the other quarterback, Bryce Young at Alabama, or Masterpiece Sons, that's getting a $2 million deal, or anybody else that's Derek King, all these other quarterbacks that are out here getting these deals. I have no problems with them capitalizing on these opportunities, because I'll be damned, when we was in high school, Ish, if somebody threw us $1 million to be able to use our name and likeness, I mean, come on, Ish. And it's legal too. I mean, come on, man.
I do want to say that it was a really good point that you made about the reason why he's getting the deal, or some of the details in that deal, because like the comment that Justin made about taxes, I think this is a big thing that we need to talk about, and it needs to be discussed
Now you bring that up, let me go ahead and bring the comments up.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
My boy, Mr. Stabler. He's the first comment he has. He says somebody had to make Buddy an empty promise to start at QB, but he's going to be in a roof surprise when he gets to campus. I honestly don't think that he's. I don't think he plans on.
Yeah, I don't think he plans on playing.
Because Ohio State, I mean, let's be real. Ohio State got 3 quarterbacks already ready to start junior, seniors. They're not going to start a freshman. But anyways, second comment, he says that NIL going to get a lot of these college players in trouble if the schools aren't teaching them or making them take classes about taxes, because Uncle Sam got to get his. And I will say this when it comes to what Justin is saying. He's 100% correct when it comes to some of these players will get in trouble. I got that. But when it comes to the schools teaching students how to do taxes, again, we went to these schools, Ish. They ain't gonna teach us how to do taxes. I promise you, they not.
Oh no.
That's
no.
on.
They don't care about that
at all.
I mean, well, it may be, now. Let me say that. Let me correct that. Mm-hmm. The institution itself doesn't care. Now, you may have some of these programs where you may have like a Nick Saban, who he may be like, you know what? Hey guys, let's go ahead and let's talk about how we're gonna handle this stuff. Also, one of the points that I was trying to make earlier is that beyond taxes, you talked about the deal that he's getting with this kombucha company, right? You also need to talk to these athletes about the type of deals and what companies you take deals from, because that could end up harming, harming you down the road. It may harm you if you're in high school. It may harm your scholarship. You may get with a company that something comes out, whatever scandal. And now we're talking about, oh, so-and-so is connected to this company. It reflects poorly upon the school. Like, it's the same with professional athletes and some of the endorsements that they take,
so
right?
What you're saying, exactly. What you're saying is later on something could happen and it had that trickle-down effect because of where you went to high school, to college, wherever you went to is going to have a bad look on that program that you went to. I 100% understand where you're coming from. I do agree. Let's get back to the comments right quick from Mobino Akajobi. He says, NIL is messing everything up, bro. They got to limit it. You got to work for shit. I think the level of the game for all sports is going to fall. He also says there has to be some sort of balance for these kids. They are too young to handle a lot of money. Ish, how do you feel on what Obina had to say?
I don't think the love of the game is going to diminish. I think, what I do think is it makes some of these more adult decisions happen a lot sooner than they did in the past. So when I say that, for anybody who played competitive sports, even by the time you get to high school, right? There's a difference between high school and between pee-wee or middle school. Why? Because in high school, when you're a player on a varsity team, your results affect somebody's job, right? At the end of the day, like your results are going to affect somebody's job. But even more so when you get to college, everybody talks about it when they make it to the college ranks. Everybody talks about it when they get to the professional ranks. Like it is a business. At the end of the day, these sports become a business and you have to perform and you are relied upon to perform. And if you don't perform, you get removed, you get axed, you get whatever happens, right? So when we talk about giving kids in high school these deals and money and stuff like that, they're going to have to start making decisions now that they didn't have to make or worry about at that time. They're going to still love the game, but a lot of them are going to have to start making these grown-up decisions. Some of them are going to have to make decisions like, for example, if you're a kid who comes from a family that isn't very well off, right? Now you have to decide. Maybe you do try to take some summer classes to forego your senior season so you can make money sooner than you would if you stayed all 4 years. You're like, those are some decisions that some of these elite kids in the high school level are going to have to make in order to figure out, like, hey, how can I help my family out? What is best for me and my situation, myself as a brand? And you may see more of that instead of the team aspect and just enjoying the game.
Obian also says these kids like fame and clout more than they put in work. I mean, I'll say this. At the end of the day, the hungrier kids are always going to survive. The hungrier people that want something are going to survive. I understand where Obian is coming from. I have to agree partially, on what he's saying. But I just feel like at the end of the day, just like we're kind of watching just like we kind of saw in the NBA Finals with the Greek Freak, how we saw somebody come from, I wouldn't say nothing, but he came from, humble beginnings, right? And he's worked and he worked and he worked and he finally reached the mountaintop, and he's appreciative of everything that came, amongst the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And even though, again, a guy like a Quentin Edwards is able to get this opportunity, that does not mean that he's going to be the number one pick in the draft in the NFL in the next 5 years, right?
Oh, yeah. I think the cream always rises to the top, right? Like, I think exactly what you're saying. The cream is going to rise to the top. Like, you still got to put the work in, right?
Just a couple of years ago, we had a guy on QB1 named Tate Martell. He was supposed to be the guy going to Ohio State. He was supposed to be that guy. Didn't work at Ohio State, went to Miami. Didn't work at Miami, right? No, I don't know if anybody knows where he's at now, but I do.
UNLV.
He's at UNLV. UNLV. And he's not even playing a quarterback. Apparently, supposed to be at UNLV as an athlete.
Oh, so, man. Another Tim Tebow, huh?
Yeah. So I will say this. Obina is partially right when it comes to some of these kids. And I agree with you, Ish. I mean, when it comes to some of these kids are going to have to grow up a lot sooner than they want to, if they want to get to certain mountaintops, right? And if you don't grow up, the next move you make might slip you off that mountaintop because it's now becoming even more competitive than what it was, where if you mess up, also we're going to give you another chance, maybe even another chance because you are that talented and this, that. Every move will be monitored. Everything that you do will be watched like a hawk. If you're from, if you're in the 8th grade and you're on social media, like everything moving forward. If I'm a parent and I'm making sure that my child, male or female, is trying to go to college or pros, I as a parent have to watch over my son or daughter a lot differently because I have to make sure that they understand, they get through their head that if you want to be this, you have to do it this way because you are special. Because you want to. That's it. Really do come down. That's what I'm saying.
Middle school, you're a business. It
starts with your parents.
You become a business.
Parents,
if you're an elite athlete, you become a business.
Exactly. If you are a certain person, athlete wise, and you know it, your parents know it. Both of y'all have to have us just sit down and understand and realize, like, look, we have to go about life a little differently. And I understand completely where Obina is coming from, where it might make these kids soft. It might give them too much clout. But at the end of the day, it's on that individual to put in that work at the end of the day if they want to be great, right, Ish?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It'll definitely be, like you said, I think the cream will rise to the top. I think that you still got to put in the work. You still going to have to earn it. There will be some kids who may fall off because they get too much
They
too
get too much
quickly.
money, too much. I 100% agree.
It
and
may
somebody
happen.
somebody might come that didn't get those deals and will surpass them and will get their money in the NFL.
But one thing I will
say, and my bad to cut you, I will say, to adding on to what you said, there are some kids out here that don't have anything. There's some people that's come out from nothing, and for them to be able to get a deal, and they might not even get to the NFL and just get that money in college, that's a blessing for them. You know, some people that would never able to get money because they couldn't reach the pinnacle of the NFL, right? So those kids, let's just say, Obina, there's a guy that makes $2 million while he's in college, and he's able to invest it back into your Nigerian community. And even though he didn't make it to the NFL, he invested it back into the Nigerian community in Houston or also in Nigeria. And because he didn't play in the NFL, because he didn't play in the NFL, he was still able to make that money off these NIL rules. Isn't that something that could happen moving forward? These guys are able to do more with their money besides just go out and play video games and buy snacks. Like, we could see something like that moving forward as well, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tricky. You've got to have the right people around you. You've got to have the right structure. I think if you do a search, there are a lot of companies already out there that are trying to fill that void. They're trying to be like sports agencies for like college and high school kids now. You're already seeing those type of things pop up because, these kids are going to have to make the right decisions, and they're going to have to understand a lot sooner than before that everything you do is for your brand. You are now a brand, and you are basically marketing yourself every single time you go out, every time you post on social media, all of those things. Like, more than before, your brand is going to be highly monitored if you are an elite athlete. And that's the thing that I think it kind of gets overlooked sometimes when we talk about this is, really, we're only talking about the elite athletes. We're not really talking about every single athlete. Like, not everybody on the football team is going to get some sort of endorsement deal. But if you are elite, if you are playing, you're starting, then you are. If you are getting recruited, you will. So we just got to make sure that we help to teach these kids, that we help to mentor these kids, that we provide them the resources, that, you're there helping to guide them and answering any questions that they may have,
and provide a beautiful podcast like X Talking Ish to help them through the next 20 to 50 years, baby. That's what we're here for, baby. We got y'all. All right, let's get to the comments right quick before we move on to the next topic. Justin also says it's okay when these companies see these kids underperforming. A lot of the deals will be disappearing and teaching these kids some tough life lessons. Our boy Lee is joining the show as well. He says, Obi, so you think it's right for the school and these boosters to get rich off these kids and they don't see a dime? They deserve every bit they are getting that has to deal with themselves in their own name. Of course, Obina says, shout out to Greek Freak. He says he's Nigerian. That's why he's great. Also, Lee says hard work won't change. That's what is getting them paid. And I agree wholeheartedly. You wouldn't be able to get paid if you didn't put in the hard work in the first place. I think said that won't
they won't get paid.
They won't get paid if they lose their elite status.
Yep.
Also, Bina says, yes, Greek Freak is Nigerian. He puts in the work. He said that's why you got to work to stay elite. Of course, I didn't say they didn't deserve money, but it should be limited to a certain amount, not millions. They might not make it to the NFL or NBA. I mean, I got you, Obina, but who are you to cap it off? You ain't your money. If a company is giving you a certain amount of money, you're gonna say, nah, I think I deserve 40,000.
Well, I think he's on to something. I
understand where he's coming from.
NCAA was saying, like, I think that they may
like kind of like an allowance.
Yeah, or put a limit,
or
they may put a limit on, like, you can only receive certain type of endorsements, like, so you can't get cash money for your endorsements, but it can go into like a scholarship fund or something like that. Like, they may make some stipulations into how the endorsement,
like, you won't get this money until you actually complete your degree. Like, I can respect that too.
Like, they may make certain stipulations, so it's not like kids are just walking around with $100,000 in their pocket because they got paid.
They're gonna be a target too, of course, if that happens as well. So that's another topic for another day. Lee also says, Exactly. So the NIL isn't messing anything up. The kids would mess up their chances to get paid, and then they are back in the same predicament as they were before. The NIL just playing. I'm sorry. Yes, just playing for no money. I'm pretty sure you messed something else. Anyway, all right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. We're going into college football. This is probably the biggest topic of the college offseason thus far. Of course, the SEC might have some new members in 2025 with UT and OU might be joining
Before that,
the fold. And like Ish said as well, it could be before 2025.
it'll be before that.
It could be 2022, 2023. But if these Texas lawyers are as slick as we think they are, Ish, UT will be in the SEC by at least 2023. And Ish, I'll let you go ahead and start this one off because I have a lot to say on UT, especially with what we talked about months ago about how UT.
Oh man,
we talked about this. So
we did.
Let's go ahead and hear what you have to say, and I'll get into what I have to say.
Yeah, when we talked about this months ago. We talked about UT and whether or not we thought they were an elite program, and we talked about whether or not I thought or you thought that they would ever reach that elite status of what they were before. Some would say
before
elite.
Colt McCoy messed up his shoulder, and
all that.
It's been downhill ever since.
For OU, I like this. Personally, I like it. I like it for a number of reasons. I like it because UT and A&M get to renew that rivalry. I want to see that again.
Damn right I do.
I miss those. I miss those games. Thanksgiving. Yeah, I love watching UT A&M. Another reason why I like it, I for a long time have wanted UT and OU to go to the SEC. I felt like years ago when it first popped up and realignment was happening, I just felt like it was a natural fit from the standpoint of you're the two best programs. Well, at the time, you were two of the top two programs in the Big 12. Definitely the two most recognized programs from the Big 12. Why not go to the most premier conference in college football in the SEC? So I like it from that standpoint as well. Where I'm kind of like, if you're a UT, right? Obviously, you're doing this because of the recruiting situation. Because let's be honest, UT, while they've been getting all these top classes and so on and so forth, they have been losing when it comes to the top prospects in Texas going to OU, going to Alabama, going to A&M. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were playing in the Big 12. So for them, they think, okay, we go to SEC, helps us in recruiting. The problem for me is UT doesn't have that same brand name I feel like they had years ago back when we were growing up. Okay. I feel like when we were growing up, UT carried more weight than it carries now.
Can I give you a great team that we can compare them to right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
University of Miami.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's similar in that stance.
I was just watching 30 for 30 Part 2, the U, and it just gives me chills every time I watch that 2001, 2002 Miami team. I mean, they were different, period. And
well, yeah, the name, but the university, like
said,
that name, it brought something to you when we were growing up.
Though.
But not anymore.
They're trying to get back, but it's hard. Same thing with UT. I think UT is the same way. Like they're trying anything possible to get back this UT swagger, this Vince Young swagger that they had.
Well, but when you think about it, you can't really get that back without performing on the field, because the problem is a lot of the kids that are growing up now, they know UT for a mediocre program. And even moving to the SEC, if I'm a kid, a top prospect in the state of Texas, and I want to stay in the state of Texas and play in the SEC, I choose A&M before I choose UT, because A&M has proven to be further along and competing.
When's the last time A&M won a national championship, though?
Does that matter?
It does matter.
They've been competing in the SEC.
They haven't done shit, though, in the national championship round.
But they're competing in the SEC. And they can say that they have been competitive. So
Jimbo gonna win them a championship this year?
I'm not saying it doesn't matter if they win a championship.
So
all they have to do is be better than UT. All they have to do is be better than UT.
First of all, when UT joins the SEC, they will be better than A&M. Mark and the word Charles Barkley, I guarantee it. I ain't talking about first year. I'm talking about when they get the recruiting class in, because UT will still recruit. Look, everything that you were saying, I was like, hey, I'm on par with you. Oh, you going to SEC, UT, but when you started drifting off when it comes to
No,
UT is going to benefit so much going to the SEC. Look, I respect where you're coming from, especially prior to this with the boosters. I agree with you. I feel like the boosters was holding UT back. This, that, and third. If they get into the SEC, I promise you, they will not win a championship in 4 years. But after the 5th year, maybe not the 5th year, the 6th year.
Okay, let me ask you. No. Let me.
I've
got a very good case study for you.
I got
a very good case study for you. There was one school in the SEC from the state of Texas for the past couple of years. What school was that?
You talking about
Texas A&M?
Or you talking about
Texas
now?
A&M. Texas A&M right now, right?
Yes.
How many times has A&M been to the SEC championship game?
0.
They have not. Okay, so you have this, and here it goes with this. I mean, bigger than life. Trust me, I'm a UT fan. There's nothing more I would like than for UT to go to the SEC, be competitive, show everybody up, go in there and make the same noise that they used to make years ago. It's not going to happen. People need to stop with this nonsense of thinking that University of Texas is something that they are not. A&M has been in the SEC for years. They have been there. They've been recruiting in the top conference for years, and they have yet to even make it to the championship game. And then you're going to tell me a university, a team that is 2-7 versus TCU in the Big 12, lost to Kansas, a team that is mediocre in the Big 12. That's the team you're telling me is going to go to the SEC and start competing in 4 years?
That was in the past, though.
That team is going to go and compete in 4 years? Oh, X, you are lost.
Look, Lee says that 5-star linebacker for 2023 or 24 class already switched commitments from A&M to UT. They were talking about it on First Take. I absolutely believe that this helps UT.
It helps them slightly.
It does.
Because you get to say SEC, right? But it doesn't help them that much, because if you are a top talent in the state of Texas, unless you are so drawn to the fact of like, oh, I want to go to a Texas school, or like you have family ties to UT, please tell me if your son is a top football prospect and he gets an offer from Alabama, he gets an offer from LSU, he gets an offer from OU, he gets an offer from UT, and he gets an offer from A&M. You're choosing UT over all of those other programs?
You want to know why? Because they in the SEC now. We ain't got to travel too far to go see my son play. I don't have to travel to Alabama.
Closer.
I don't have to travel. First of all,
A&M's closer.
College Station's trash. Ain't gonna lie, Austin trash too. That's another story for another day. Both college cities are trash. I hate both. I hate both cities. That's another story for another day. But the point is, if it's my son, we need to bring back that UT spirit back. I'm just saying, when UT is rocking in Texas, you know how it is.
Delusional.
Again, answer me the question when last time A&M won that championship. 1923. Okay,
matter.
It does matter. It does matter because A&M is the little brother of Texas, and they always will be until they actually do something in the national realm of college football.
Can I ask you a question though?
You can ask me as many questions you like, sir. Yes.
So let's say UT joins the SEC, right? Uh-huh. Let's say they join next year. They go and they lose to A&M, and then they lose the next year. And then they lose the next year. They still the big brother?
First of all,
if you're a recruit, you still think UT's the big brother? Again, remember, these kids that are getting recruited now, they only know A&M in the SEC and UT in the Big 12, okay? And they know A&M competing in the SEC and UT being mediocre in the Big 12.
You know how easy that is as a coach to hype up my team and say, look, this is y'all's first year in the SEC. You can come out here and make something happen, make something special happen right now. Okay,
you know what?
And if they
It really
lose that
worked
first year,
for-
it's all
it
good.
really
We
worked for
gonna
Tom
use it that
Herman.
second year. Okay,
It really worked for Tom Herman
Look,
when they
don't-
played LSU
look, don't bring in-
Austin.
don't
when
bring
they
in
played
old
LSU
stuff, okay?
in Austin.
That was Joey
and
Burrow,
LSU whooped on
man.
they
That was
booty.
Joey
Okay.
Burrow. That was national championship LSU. That's not even the same thing. A&M go
LSU
win that
whooped on that
championship.
booty, right?
A&M
Okay.
go win. A&M don't even have Kellen Mond right now. You over here thinking
Right.
A&M is like hot shit. Come on now.
What is UT's record against ranked SEC opponents since 2000 and like 1996? What's the record? What is the actual
It's
their
not
record?
good.
It's not even 500. It's not even
It's
500.
not. It's not. The point
on,
is,
man.
Look, the point is, like Lee said, things will change in the future with recruits, coachings, because, excuse me, Tom Herman won't even be here in 3 years. Tom Herman won't be the head coach.
Well,
Maybe
Tom
somebody
Herman's
else.
already gone. It's Sarkisian.
My bad.
And you're
My bad,
hoping
I'm
that
drunk.
Sark.
My bad, I'm drunk.
You're hoping that Sark is going to bring what he had in Alabama.
We're
and
hoping to
replicate
start
that in Texas.
a new
hope.
beginning, a new turn moving forward. We don't know. We have to wait and see what Steve Sarkisian even brings to the table as a UT coach, because let's be real, he's an outsider. Okay.
Oh, here we
So-
go. So I actually
Am I
heard some
wrong?
people talk. I heard some people
Am I
talking about this.
wrong?
I heard people talking about this, and here we go again
I'm
with
listening.
this UT nonsense of he's not from Texas. He ain't one of them good old Texas boys. You know, we gotta get one of them Texas boys in here to run the org. If we're gonna be the premier Texas organization, premier Texas institution, we need a Texas boy running it. That's what you and those boosters think in Austin. And you know what that has gotten you so far? It's gotten you jack shit.
You
It's
know who I
gotten you
need?
nothing.
I need another Mac Brown. That's who I need. Okay.
Oh, okay, go get Mac Brown.
I
from
need
North
Mac
Carolina.
Brown. We're gonna pay.
Go
Give
bring
him
him back.
$25 million. Bring him back from North Carolina.
Oh, goodness.
Go ahead, coach us in the
Here we
next
go.
championship.
Yeah, we need a Texas boy. Tom Herman sure worked out. We wanted a Texas boy, and we went and got him. And what happened? Nothing. But I'm not hearing it with this UT nonsense.
You
Okay,
done?
OU is going to compete a little bit. I don't even think that they're going to sniff. I don't think they sniffed the SEC championship game for the first 2 years. I don't think so. And OU is actually a really good team, but I don't know that they're going to do that in the first 2 years. It's possible, but I don't know. Week in and week out, it'll depend on how they set up the conferences, or if they go pods. If they do pods or if they do divisions, that will help a little bit depending on how that's structured. But for OU, I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on that. If they continue the recruiting that they've been doing, they may actually be able to compete and be in that conversation. Texas, oh no, they got a long way to go.
I want everybody
long
that's
way to
listening to this episode to please remember Ish and his doubtfulness of UT moving forward, because
Oh, remember it.
as
Remember,
Bruno
hey,
Mars would say, don't believe me, just watch, okay?
remember
We
it,
gonna
write it
wait and
down,
see.
take a message. I don't care.
All right, Smokey. We're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to figure this out. Shout out to Andrew Kelly, the triathlete out here, says go Bucks.
And that's another thank you, Andrew, for bringing that up, because
Anyways,
that's another thing that y'all need to worry about. UT still got to out recruit Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, they're Big Ten schools. They're also coming in, and depending on what happens with the Big 12 and where some of these schools go.
And we're going to get to that a little bit after this comments. I got you right. Let me read what Lee said as well. He said, I definitely get what Ish is saying. I think for them to reach that status they used to have is going to take a couple years of competing in the SEC at a high level. I 100% agree with Lee saying, and just like he said, it's about, and just like you're saying with A&M, it's just about competing. So people that's on the outside looking in can say, you know what? Maybe they need an extra lineman. Maybe they need that extra defensive end to be able to be another pass rusher to help on that defensive side of the ball. And then I 100% agree. Then they start instead of saying, "Oh, we were rebuilding, we're reloading." UT start becoming what Alabama is. But it's going to take years. It's not going to happen right when they join the SEC. So we just have to wait and see on that one. And before we move on to the next topic, like you're saying, Ish, if UT and OU join, of course, a lot sooner than later, what happens with the Big 12? Do they dissolve? There was an article out recently when it comes to, does the Big 12 merge with the Pac-12? And, you see some teams, do that, or do you split the do you split the Big 12 with the Big Ten and the Pac-12, it's gonna be a free for all. And with the college teams, and we have to wait and see what's going to happen with the conference. Are they going to turn into 4 super conferences where we just have 4 teams per conference play this 16-team college, style football? Are we really turning into a
NFL junior?
Like, I mean, that's pretty, because again, it's not, everybody wants this to be an amateur sport, but when you involve all this money now and all this type of playoff style football, I mean, it's not amateur football that much anymore. So just call it what it is, like professional amateur development for
it's like semi-pro.
I mean,
it's like semi-pro,
professional
basically.
ran semi-pro to get ready for the next level. And even though it's going to hurt people when it comes to their feelings on how they feel about college football, it's been like this for decades now. So I mean, I don't have a problem with it. We just got to call it what it is.
So
right?
you want me to tell you what I think should happen with the Big 12?
What you think?
Here's my number one thing of what should happen with the Big 12. If I'm Oklahoma State, F all you losers, I'm going to go figure out my conference on my own. Because Oklahoma State actually they have value. I think they actually have value to their institution, to their name. Their football program is actually a decent football program. I think that they could leave the rest of the losers and figure out their own way. There are other institutions that it makes sense for them to pair up, right? So like Baylor and TCU make sense because they're both private Christian institutions in the state of Texas. They've got solid football programs, but then when you look at Baylor's basketball program, that is very attractive to another conference, right? So you don't want to do that. I think that if I'm Baylor and TCU, well, really, if I'm TCU, I'm trying to hook up with Baylor and say, hey, we're like-minded institutions. We kind of, we got like a little natural rivalry we can kind of build in our new conference. Let's work together and go somewhere, right? Cool. That makes sense. If you're Iowa State, if I'm Iowa State, the rise that I've had so far these past couple of years in football, I may be looking to go to the Big Ten because you've got Iowa already there. Just go ahead to the Big Ten. It's still a big conference. I don't know that the Big Ten necessarily would want an Iowa State, but hey, if you can get there, go there. It helps your recruiting and you still are somewhere in a good spot, right? The rest of them, nobody cares.
Not really.
Okay, honestly, nobody cares. Manhattan, Kansas. I'm sorry, K-State. Y'all feel like y'all beat OU a couple times. Nobody cares. Bye. We don't want to see you. Like Kansas, you got a basketball program, but outside of that, what really hurts you is the money is with the football programs right now, and that's what everybody's worried about. These conference realignments is football, and you don't have a program. You technically have one, but you don't. So nobody cares where you go. You can go to FCS for all we care about. Just your basketball program stay up in D1. Who else is left?
Colorado. No,
not Colorado.
I forgot they got swooped up by Pac-12. I mean, yeah, that's
West Virginia. That's the one thing I wanted to touch on that real quick because the Pac-12 thing doesn't make sense to me from the standpoint of West Virginia playing Oregon, West Virginia playing USC. Like that doesn't make sense. Like that don't make sense in the travel on the
students. I mean, again, this is why I say it's hard to call this amateur sports when you're making these kids, turn into professional athletes. That's really what's going on because you shouldn't have no college athlete traveling 1,000 miles almost per game.
I just don't think West Virginia was already kind of like a iffy thing in the Big 12. It was just kind of a weird situation.
It worked out.
It worked out, but it was weird to me still that like, how do they really mesh there? I just don't think that West Virginia in the Pac-12 even makes close to any sense. So that for me is one of the main reasons why I'm like, why is it going to be like this group thing to the Pac-12 when I feel like Oklahoma State, you can do a lot better just going off on your own. You'll probably find a better deal instead of trying to stay with the rest of these losers. You got a bunch of losers in there that nobody wants. Nobody wants K-State. Nobody wants Kansas. Like they just don't want them. I don't think a lot of people really are clamoring to get TCU. I don't think a lot of people want TCU. I don't even know that a lot of people want Baylor. So like,
especially with the reputation they've had. I agree with Lee when he said that West Virginia, the ACC makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I agree with that. But the ACC wants Notre Dame.
Well, and I'll say this before we move on to our next topic, because we got to go ahead and move on to the next topic before the show's over for the night. I don't know how truthful this is, but reports are saying that Clemson and Florida State has reached out to the SEC as well.
They've come out and denied that.
Okay, they have. Okay,
they came out. They said that
because if
they
that
have
is
not
true as well.
Out.
Oh my goodness! All right, that's fake news. I apologize on that, but if that was true, again,
I mean, it may be true.
It's going to turn into a super conference,
and
you might it's going to be a free for all. But I agree that the ACC works perfectly with West Virginia. I feel like they should be in there. I mean, I think they were part of the Big East at one point.
The Big East, they were part of
the Big East. Of course, dissolved and they became the Big 12. So we'll talk more about it in future episodes. We're going to go ahead and get into the NFL right quick to wrap up this show for the night. 2021 NFL training camp. We're just going to touch a little bit on it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And Ish, I know you want to start off with your guy. Go ahead and start off with, I know you want, just go. Just go.
Oh, yes. I would like to talk about the fraud, the con, the man that is bamboozling and swindling people out of money, just like his mentor, Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford 2.0 is injured once again.
You got to do the mustache. That's the even villain.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam Bradford 2.0 is hurt again in Indy. I mean, if you're an Indianapolis fan, I told you so. Did you really think that Carson Wentz was going to come there and be some like magnificent guy for you? No, he's already in midseason form. He's getting hurt before the season even started. I mean, wow, this is I think it's a record or something for, we got to go check this. Like I said, I think he's following the mold of Sam Bradford. He's going to go and collect as many checks as he can, and then he's going to get hurt. He may start a couple of games, do all right. Then he's going to get hurt. Then he's going to go to another team that's going to pay him a large contract because they think that they're going to be able to resurrect MVP Carson Wentz, and then he's going to get hurt. I mean, Sam Bradford 2.0, he's back at it again. That's the news for you. And then to just rub salt in the wounds, when it rains, it pours, whatever metaphor you want to use. Then Quentin Nelson went and got hurt. And, I mean, if you're in Indy now, you're really sitting there thinking to yourself, like, what did we do to get cursed like this? I may say that by signing Phillip Rivers, this may be part of the curse.
So, my bad. Can I piggyback on that? Actually,
go ahead.
Word on the street: apparently, Phillip Rivers is talking about maybe making a comeback. And I'm so serious. This happened a couple of hours ago.
Doesn't he need to help his wife with all those kids they got?
They got the Winnebago. They all right. They got it. Again, on Bleacher Report, they said that Phillip Rivers might be eyeing a comeback. No team specifically, but do the Colts say, hey, let's run it back with Phillip Rivers for the meantime, but until Carson Wentz gets back? And even when he gets back, if Phillip Rivers is 11-2 when Wentz gets back, does Wentz sit?
Yeah, he's still sitting.
If
Phillip Rivers is really actually trying to come back and he's interested in going back to the Colts, then yeah, if I'm the Colts, I'm like, okay, Phillip, come back and we're going to let Carson just chill out for another year. And then, when you're ready to retire at the end of this year, then we'll bring Carson back and he'll have a full, all season to prepare and all that nonsense. He's still Sam Bradford 2.0, so he's going to find a way to get hurt anyway, probably in the preseason next year. But I don't know. Phillip Rivers, Brad, he got all those kids. He needs to spend some time with your kids, man. Just
he's obviously, as you see, he's trying not to be in the house a little too long. He's been quarantined apparently.
He's been in quarantine too long. He's like, nah,
yeah. I gotta go back to the office. It's too much going on here.
He ready to get back in training camp or something. He's like,
so it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with this Colts team, because on the roster at the moment have Jacob Easton, who hasn't had a snap yet, and also, of course, we just talked about UT, Mr. Sam Ehlinger. Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting to see. I would not be surprised at all if we do see Sam Ehlinger in the starting lineup before Carson Wentz gets back as the starter.
Oh, real quick.
I think I'm listening.
Sorry. And more injury news. DeMarcus Acey, corner for the Steelers, he is out for the season.
What happened? ACL, Achilles?
Yep, tore his ACL.
Of course.
So,
of course.
More injury news for you there, sir.
And of course, to the other injury, and that's something else we were going to get to shortly when it comes to training camp. Unfortunately, it has been unfortunately, it seems like a little array of injuries here and there. Either some ticky-tack or some major injuries here and there. Kenny Galladay just got hurt recently at the Giants. And let's dive a little into the Giants right quick with their training camp session. Besides Kenny, they also had a little melee that broke out with the Giants.
Trying to hurt Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes apparently was pinned under other players, and apparently head coach Joe Judge was not pleased. And when all that was going, after that all that was going on, he made them run sprints. Felt like it, from what I was reading, felt like it was back in high school all over again. Made them run sprints. After they got done, they did push-ups, and while they were all doing that, apparently he was, of course, using some expletives at those players. So, with that being said, the Giants, I mean, we're gonna do another episode in the next couple week or two talking about division, who's gonna win the division, who's gonna win the Super Bowl. I actually work with a Giants fan. He's very excited for the upcoming season. He feels like they have weapons all around on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is solid, top 10 defense last year coming into this year. But the question mark has remained, and it will remain. I'm not calling him Danny Dimes. I refuse to. I haven't seen him throw one dime in his NFL career yet. This is Daniel Jones, okay?
Bruh, stop hating on Danny Dimes.
No! Daniel Jones. What has he done yet in the NFL? Not anything yet. So this is his year to prove to the rest of the NFL, are you going to be Daniel Jones, Daniel Dimes, or Sam Darnold leaving the Jets and going to another team? Because
bruh, don't do Danny Dimes like that, man.
Oh yes. You're not about to hype him up. I need to see production by week 6. If not, the Giants are going to be just a 5-12 team. I'm sorry, 5-13 team since 5-12. There we go. 5-12 since we got 17 games this year. Because they can have all the talent in the world they want to, but this division is not horrible, but you have some pretty decent teams when it comes to the Washington football team. Their defense I'm talking about is really good.
This division is horrible. That division is horrible.
It's not horrible. It's going to be better. I think the AFC South will be the worst.
I mean, they have no choice but to be better.
I think the AFC South. You're correct. I think the AFC South division will be the worst this year. But I think the NFC East will be a lot better than what they were last year.
The AFC South will be the worst this year.
Yeah. It was only between the Titans and the Colts, and now it was going on with the Colts. I mean, dang, they're going to not be as well as I thought they were going to be. The Texans are going to be the Texans and the Jags. We're not even going to discuss them right now. But when it comes to what's going on in oh Lord, I lost where I was at. When it comes to
New York,
and
you talking about them,
the Giants and whatnot, we have to wait and see what happens with Danny Dimes on if he can even be the guy, on if he can even be half of what people want him to be, and then we can actually make a decision on what's going to happen to the Giants as a whole.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment. Danny Dimes, he's gonna have to prove it. I think he still needs to prove it. He hasn't proved it yet, so I'm fine with that. But real quick before we leave the NFC East, that reminded me of other injuries that I wanted to talk about real quick with you. Devonta Smith is out a couple of weeks, rookie wide receiver for the Eagles. Also, there were reports that Jalen Waddle down in Miami is still having issues with that ankle. Who would have thought that some guy who hurt his ankle and then came back early to play in a national championship game when you already knew you were leaving for the NFL would still have some issues with that ankle. He's still going full go in practice. He's not sitting out, but he's getting it heavily taped every day before practice. They're talking about, there is still some stiffness and soreness there. So I don't know, these rookie wide receivers, man. There was a lot of hype going into the draft about them, and I know that we did talk about the slight frame of Devonta Smith and whether or not he was going to be able to withstand the beating that a wide receiver takes in the NFL. And then there were the question marks about Jalen Waddle. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about these guys now?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's it's unfortunate, right? First of all, it's unfortunate. We want to see these guys be healthy moving into the season, but that's something we talked about in previous shows when it comes to these guys' size. Of course, Devontae Smith talked about when he won the Heisman. Hey, size is just a thing. You know, even though I'm small, I can still play at this level. I mean, at any level. I understand what he's saying, but a guy that small, especially in this NFL now, like you could get away with that in the 80s and the 90s. Now, I think I look at him like a smaller version of Deshaun Jackson, and Deshaun Jackson is like a $150. But at least Deshaun Jackson can fly, right? You know, he could get away from you. Devontae Smith's a great route runner. He's a great wide receiver, period. But it's going to be very interesting to see if these guys say, you know what, now that I finally got a taste of the NFL, okay, I do need to add a little bit more weight. Okay, I might not have to run a 4.3. I can run a 4.4, 4.5, but I can still run my routes. I can still be durable because I need to be playing. I need to last the whole season because it's easy to say, you know, when you're in Alabama, you're playing with Alabama, things look a lot easier because you have all these 5 stars around you, right? Everything looks easy. But then when you actually get onto a team where, even though everybody are professionals, some guys aren't as good as that guy that was at Alabama, right? So now it's your whole offensive mindset on things are a little bit different. You might have to carry the team a little bit. You might have to play a second fiddle to another guy. It's just going to be very interesting to see what these wide receivers, and not just wide receivers, all the position players do when it comes to managing their injuries, and also maybe not and seeing how they go about it. It might be some players that say, you know what, I don't want to rush it. I want to wait a couple more weeks to make sure I'm 100% healed. There'd be some guys that are going to come in and say, oh, I'm not healthy, but I'm still going to play anyways because I don't care. You know, like like Jonathan Abrams with the Raiders type of thing. You know, he's a heat-seeking missile. He don't care. We just have to, again, like I said, wait and see what happens after camp because some of these injuries are just very minor. They can get back right before the season starts. Some of these injuries might be lingering injuries. We have to wait and see again how this season is. I apologize for keep saying wait and see, but that's just how it is. I mean, we just have to, for real, wait and see what happens.
Cop out.
It is, but I'm going to cop out on that one and go ahead and move on to another topic. Before I do that, let's go ahead and go to the comment section right quick. Brett says, side note, we talked about Texas being back. I don't like Texas, but this helps them something serious. It's very true. Lee also said Jamar Chase and Rashard Bateman already moving into the wide receiver number 1 roles with the Bengals and the Ravens. That's awesome considering they both went to teams that has 2 solidified wide receivers.
That's debated with the Ravens because I don't know that Hollywood Brown is necessarily solidified for me.
Well,
he's a solidified slot receiver
for that team. He might be solidified, right? And also, you know, with the Ravens, would be interesting to see how that team forms together and what they're trying to do with Lamar, making him into a complete quarterback. We're assuming we don't know. We haven't seen any tape since the second day of practice, since nobody can tape Lamar anymore. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on from Lamar. We have to wait and see what happens with them. I want to talk very, very briefly before we get up out of here for tonight on the 49ers. The 49ers and their quarterback situation, what they have going on. Most people, about 90% of people that are football people, watch the 49ers and will most likely say Jimmy G will start week 1. And then there are people that will say, even though Jimmy G is going to start week 1, Trey Lance should be the starter by week 8, 10, whatever it is, because Jimmy G most likely is going to mess it up. I understand, but I might be like Dan Orlovsky right quick when I'm about to say what I'm about to say when it comes to Jimmy G. I don't think Jimmy G is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he might not be the best quarterback for the 49ers right now. But guess what? When Jimmy G plays, the 49ers win. I know that sounds crazy, but record-wise, Jimmy G is who got the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And it might sound like, oh man, why Jimmy G? It could be Trey Lance to do the same thing. I understand, but we don't. Jimmy, I still feel like with Trey Lance, he's still a work in progress. We don't know how great he can be, or if he's still just nothing but hype. I'm not trying to compare him, but we do know the college that he went to, right? Went to North Dakota State University. Another hype guy came out of there just a couple of years ago, Mr. Carson Wentz. And he has not proven to me, except 2017. I don't know who wants 2017 back more, either Astro fans or Eagle fans. We don't know yet with Trey Lance, but we do know with Jimmy G. He's a guy that knows the system. He's a guy that they trust. He's a guy that they can put this team on Jimmy G's back, and he can take them to this weak NFC promised land. I promise you.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
Nope. Right. I'm gonna shut you down right now. Not because I disagree with what you're saying, but because we're gonna have to go back and find the tape. Everybody that's watched in the past, everybody that watched the draft stuff, let's go back and let's find the tape. Because I swear that I was explaining to these fools when we were doing the mock draft and everything that I thought that they were going to take Trey Lance, but that Jimmy G should play the entire season if he's playing well, and Trey Lance should sit. And I swear that you, Dooley, whoever other bozo was on the show was like, oh no, if you take a quarterback at number 2, they got to play. And I was sitting here explaining to you everything you just said. That let me just say to you right now, man, well said. Because I think that many teams need to learn this. You don't need a superstar quarterback necessarily to win the Super Bowl. What you need is a guy that works in your system and is able to get the job done, which is what Jimmy G has done when the team has been healthy. So I said this before the draft. I don't care if all these reports are true that Trey Lance has gone in there and is lighting it up with his arm strength and his accuracy and whatnot. If Jimmy G is playing solid football, let him play. Let him play. And then you know what? After this season, he has raised his value to where you can trade him somewhere else and then let Trey Lance do whatever he wants to do. We saw it with Kansas City. I'm not just saying that because that's my team. Alex Smith, he went through the whole season. Kansas City knew what they had with Patrick Mahomes, but they did not rush Patrick Mahomes to play. There is no need for you to rush this guy to play. If Jimmy G is playing solid football, let Jimmy G rock out. Let him slang that thing all year long. And then whenever it's done and over with, you can trade him somewhere else and let Trey Lance rock it out. But I think that I agree with you 100%. My only problem with this whole thing that you just did is that you gave me a hard time during the draft talking about, oh, you got to play a quarterback if you draft him at number 2. Now you see the light, huh? Now you see the light.
First things first. I'm pretty sure that was Dooley that got on you for that, because I don't think it was me. Because I will say that I will say that yes, if you do draft somebody that high, yes, you should play them in certain circumstances depending on what's going on with your team. Of course, asterisk, right? I will add the asterisk on there. And this situation at hand. Again, if Jimmy G is healthy, if he is the guy that's supposed to be leading this team and they are playing well after week 13, there's no reason to, of course, make this quarterback change. But if they are 6 and 5 after 11 weeks, they might look around and say, yeah, I mean, we have this talent. We're trying to make a run. Like, we need a spark. You know, we could see maybe that change happen. But it's going to be very interesting to see. I think the NFC is wide open. I think a lot of people are saying that the Bucks are going to be able to make an easy run back to the Super Bowl, but I don't think that's the case at all. The AFC is nothing but stacked teams. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, if everybody tunes into X Talking Ish in the future, we will update everybody on our picks for division winners, playoff winners, conference winners, and of course Super Bowl winners. We'll have that in the upcoming weeks. Ish, man, we are back. This is the first episode of season 2 of X Talking Ish, and I am glad to be back. I appreciate you as always.
Man, it feels good to be back. It feels good to be back, other than you talking a bunch of nonsense about the University of Texas and good old Texas boys. And good old Texas boys, they back, man. I'm telling you, Texas is back. Texas back. National championship. Here we come.
In the words of Bun B and Pimp C, which I know about them Texas boys. Alrighty then, with that being said, we appreciate y'all always for tuning in to X Talking Ish. We will be back, of course, next Tuesday on y'all favorite airwaves. See y'all next week.
For sure.